All right, we can start. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. So my name is Ankita, and I'm the Regional Manager for Africa in Frappe. I look actively into business and marketing enablements for the community. So in today's session, we have Mukesh Varyani, Managing Director at Finbyz. So let me give you a background about Mukesh. So Mukesh believes professional management practice can help companies outshine the peers. So that is why he played his role through Finbyz in bringing in this change for the country through IT and financial expertise. And Finbyz currently is a registered Frappe official partner. In today's session, Mukesh will be taking us through how we can specifically use ERPNext for chemical industry, and he will be covering some processes that can be used across industries as well, and not just chemical industry. Also, during this session, in case anyone has any questions, please share it in the chat box and we will answer it in the Q&A session at the end. So over to you, Mukesh. Maybe you can talk about a bit about yourself, which I might have missed, and then we can dive into the topic of discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Ankita, for this introduction. I have been working on ERPNext since past 10 years or so, and it has been a long journey. We have seen like a lot of versions changing, and we have worked with a number of chemical companies, which gave us the idea that even though the overall problems are roughly similar, there are some specific nuances for the chemical industry where they need some bit more specific solution. So what we have tried to do is create these specific solutions within ERPNext, making their journey much more easy of adopting the ERPNext. So I think, Ankita, can we start? Should I start sharing my screen and start the presentation?
Yes, you can. In case, okay, your screen is visible.
Okay, great. So we have been working on ERP, and this is what defines us. I mean, overall technology and domain expertise is what we basically work on. Try to solve the problems always. So starting on with this particular thing, if you're basically in any commodity, the specifics of one commodity which differentiate one commodity from another is going to be some form of quality about that particular commodity that you are going to sell. Now, how do you basically register that quality, or how do you basically check that so let's say there is one particular item and that item is getting sold by various suppliers. How do you differentiate that supplier with other supplier? There is no brand associated with it. So you generally ask for sample. So let's say you are basically trying to buy one particular item from somebody. You are going to ask them, send me your sample, let me check what quality it has, and then give me the price. So this is a normal function by which the whole purchase happens in chemical industry. But this is not only limited to chemical. Even if you go for something like agro commodity, over there also the similar kind of things we have noticed, that they always ask for the sample before chemical, minerals, agro commodity. Everywhere there is a specific requirement of the sample. Based on the quality tasted of the sample, you ask for the price. So price alone is not a factor. Now, in chemical, it is sometimes it is concentration. For minerals, it is purity. In agro commodity, it is the moisture which decides the price, apart from just the price listed. So you can't compare one supplier's price with other supplier without knowing the concentration or purity of that particular thing. So whenever it is required, we have to basically check the sample. So what we create. So before we come to this, like how we have done it into the ERPNext, let me share it with you. Like the whole software is ERPNext only, but we have developed certain custom features. These custom features are basically into this app, which is we call Chemical. This app gets installed into ERPNext and gives you all the extra features which you are required for whatever I'm showing you. So what I'm showing you is going to be some amount of default, some amount of new features which we have added, and basically combined together, you are going to get the 100% view. of the overall thing. So if you are a developer, you can just install it. If you're not a developer, you can contact us always. We will be happy to help you in your journey of adopting ERPNext. Now samples. So what we did was whatever samples we are receiving, now we can receive the sample from the supplier as we mentioned, but we can also receive the sample from the customer. All these samples we basically noted down in one particular register, which is inward sample register. And we mention what is from whom we received, what is their reference number and everything. So next, whenever we are talking to that supplier, we know that we are basically talking to them with their reference. Now, if the sample is approved in your quality testing, what you are going to do next is basically from the supplier, you are going to check the price. What is the price he is quoting that particular material? So whenever you are taking that quote, you can just update that particular price over here and click on update prices. It's going to update the ERPNext default feature, which is the price list. So if you come here, the VS price has been just updated to 270 from whatever earlier it was. So you can basically use the quotation which is given by the supplier directly over here and just keep updating the price. The another place from where you can get the sample is basically your customer. So whenever customer sends you a sample, most probably they want you to supply the similar quality. Now there are two different ways by which companies basically sell this chemicals. Somewhere I have my own standards and I basically provide the sample. Okay, this is my standard. You check it at your end. If it works for you, you buy it from me. But there are also B2B relations where companies actually provide the quality which their buyer needs. So in that case, buyer can actually also send the sample asking the supplier, asking us to produce this exact same quality, what is required over here. So if that is the case, what will happen next is basically you are going to get the sample from the customer. You are going to note it down here and then provide it to your lab. Now lab is again going to come into this outward sample list. So this is where they will register a sample. They will link this outward sample with the received sample, like we have linked it over here. And then they are going to test it into the laboratory. So they are going to do a couple of quality tests against it. Again, this quality test, they are going to try to generate the counter sample with the material which they have. So let's say this was a sample which was related to black GDN. What I did was I used the same black GDN and added some dilution through the salt and basically received some quality which is required by the customer. So for every 100 quantity, 80% is the main product and 20% is the dilution which has happened. So concentration and dilution is the key thing to understand over here whenever we are basically dealing with chemical. If they dilute, the prices actually go down. So original my rate was 2007 rupees, but because I diluted the chemical, now my costing price has reduced. My costing price has come to 1609. So I have actually used the dilution to calculate the price, which is my raw material price. So if you can see, what we did was we received one sample from supplier that we added. Then we received this sample from the customer. That sample, we basically created a counter sample in the lab, did quality test, and then basically what we got was the RMC. And what was the actual dilution required? We basically got the dilution done and got the RMC. Now, one more thing which comes is quality inspection. So everywhere we have to actually check the quality. So what ERPNext has by default is a very robust module of quality, which can be useful to roughly all the industries. Like you can do the quality testing at various stages, but it was limited to purchase and receipt and the in-process testing. What we did was we added some more features to it, whereby we allowed the quality test. So let's say I received this particular sample. Now against that only I have to create the quality inspection. I allowed it to create it. So here we added some more options of choosing the particular quality. sample type. So you can actually change the reference type and accordingly basically save it. And whatever parameters you have mentioned into this finished goods, all the parameters will come, the minimum, maximum value and acceptance criteria, and you just have to update it. Once you update it, based on that, the sample will be accepted or rejected. So this is one change in the quality inspection. Another is you can also, so in receipt side also, there is a standard functionality by which you can, whenever you are creating the receipt, you say you are going to get this particular notification that you need the quality inspection. We created some way of making it very easily and given some direct integration of this value, whatever you are getting here of the concentration into the receipt side. So whatever concentration you are putting it over here will automatically flow into the concentration of the batch of that particular item. So this is a minor change which we did. So let's say here the concentration is 96. Whenever I submit the purchase receipt, automatically this 96 will also be added into the batch which is going to get generated for this particular item. And third small change which we did was quality inspection is already allowed against the manufacturing, but there is no way of mandating it in the ERPNext by default. So we put this particular checkbox into BOM section where the user can define like, I want the quality to be tested before completion of this work order. So if you do that, it basically mandates the quality inspection like it is can be mandated for purchase and sales by default in ERPNext. We basically allowed it to be mandated on the BOM side as well. So these are like 3 changes which we did for quality inspection side. Now we created the sample, we understood the quality inspection, we did the quality inspection against the sample. The next thing is we have to basically send these samples again for the approval of particular customer from which we received the original sample. So according to me, it is the same quality, but then customer has to also accept it, isn't it? So when we have to get it sent, we thought this particular problem we can actually solve it much broadly than just in related to chemicals. So what we thought was, why not to make a whole courier management where you can basically also manage all your documents. So you can actually send out your documents as well. You can also send out samples along with your documents. So documents like sales invoice, purchase invoice, and various other documents that people used to courier. They used to maintain one simple register where they used to write it down all these transactions. Now, whenever somebody asks, I have not received this courier, then they have to actually go through this register and find that particular courier detail and then provide it to the customer or supplier. Time consuming. So we didn't want that to happen. We thought, why not to create something related to this into ERPNext. So what we did was we created a courier management document. Now in courier management, you can actually store all the couriers which you are sending out. It can be domestic or international, and it can be linked to particular customer or supplier or lead, whomever you are sending the document. You can actually add the list of documents which you are sending and also add the samples which you are sending. So this was the sample which we actually created in lab. The next step for me was to send this sample out to the respective buyer. The initial status is on the way. Now, because I have created it as a separate document, it also allows me to send automatic mailers to the recipient. So whenever I basically submit this particular outward, it can automatically trigger a mail, which will be say, we have sent you so-and-so items, so-and-so documents and so-and-so sample for your approval. Will be awaiting, and whatever the draft you want to keep, you can put that draft and its system can send it automatically. One more thing which most of people do is they also track whether this courier was delivered or not. There is some guy who basically checks it manually. So you can actually just change the status to delivered. Whenever you change it to delivered, system will send another mail mentioning that this was according to our records was received and we will be awaiting the result or whatever. The next part is specific to chemicals. So let's say you send a sample for the approval. Now you're busy in your schedule, and what used to happen is customer used to forget to follow up with the their particular courier whom they have sent it. that whether this sample is approved or not. In that case, what we did was we created multiple reminders through the same system, which was a notification system, default ERPNext system, which is notification works great. We created the reminders through this system for this particular courier to get the approval. The benefit which a lot of people got was at least few more orders got picked because they were not able to follow up manually. Now system is following up. Eventually they ensure they get the at least the results. If it is approved or not approved, at least results are received by them. Till the time it is not received, system does the follow up. And whenever the results are received, they just checkbox this, that results are received and save it. And basically then subsequent follow-ups will not be done by the system. Now we will assume here that we did all this follow-up and we got the approval and our sample was approved. So whenever our sample, which we created this counter sample in the lab, got approved, we will mark it as approved. And we can also have option of checking this checkbox of master sample. So in future, all my pricing will be quoted to this customer based on this master sample. So I may be sending this customer multiple samples throughout his life cycle. But I want one particular sample against which I will be testing all my future shipments, all my future deliveries to this particular customer so that I deliver the same quality. And whenever I have to quote, I'll be always quoting against this particular quality which customer requires. Not my item's quality, this customer's specific quality, which was 80% of my original quality, which I manufactured in my particular manufacturing process. So we basically mentioned that into here. Now the next step comes is basically from here only you have to create the quotation. We have made it simple. You just have to create, click on this, create quotation, and the standard workflow kicks in. So from standard workflow is basically in ERPNext, if we see the standard workflow, this is the standard sales process. We just molded it to work better for the chemical industry. So we received the inward sample. We made the counter sample in the outward sample. We created the quotation from there. And quotation to sales order is the standard workflow where you basically also will receive the sales order. So from the quotation, so when I'm basically quoting here, I can just put the price, like 2000 is my rate, and I'll save it. I'll put the quantity also. So this is the quotation and I'll just save it. And from here, the next step will be to create the sales order and everything. One more thing which we did was here, it is also capturing the base cost. This is nothing but the RMC which we got it into the outward sample. This RMC and margin on RMC is also getting captured at the time of quotation itself. This is very important, because this price is not exactly the price which was there in my price list. So my price list was around 2007. I am actually quoting this customer 2000 because he is asking for lower concentration. So from this quotation, I'll be creating the sales order. Just a second. Sorry, I am actually not able to click on it because there is a pop-up screen over there. This meeting. So now the next step is the sales order. So you created the sales order. Everywhere, if you can see, we have captured the sample number as well. So the whole transaction is actually flowing against particular sample. By the way, you can also skip it if it is not required by you, but we basically created this feature because many of the clients needed this particular thing, that every shipment used to be against the particular sample, and whenever it was supposed to be delivered, it was also supposed to be checked against the sample. Now the next thing is from here, whenever we go to production plan, the default production plan is basically here you can plan how much you are going to manufacture against various sales orders that you have. In default ERPNext plan, what would have happened is you got the order of 2000. Obviously, you're going to plan for 1000 quantity. So you are obviously going to plan for 1000 quantity only into manufacturing, right? Wrong. Because here we have to deliver only 80% concentration. Remaining is salt. Remember? So we actually did this particular exercise where we diluted the material. So here I was, even though the order was of 1,000, if I see the diluted quantity, then it is going to be only 800 kgs, not the 100, not the 1,000 kg. So after dilution, yes, of course, after dilution, this will actually come up to be, this will also come up to be like 1,000 kg, because you are diluting the whole material after that. So in production plan, what we did was, in production plan, what we, so in production plan, if I go, in production plan, whenever we used to get the materials from the sales order, what will happen is it is going to fetch the total quantity, which is 1,000, but there is one checkbox here. So if it is based on sample that I have to produce, then what will happen is next box, it is going to just check the 800 quantity, which is to be produced, not the full 1,000, which was my order quantity. So it is considering your sample recipe. It is considering that there is some amount of dilution. So the work order has to be created for 800 only, not the 1,000. Now, based on this, we already had the BOM. So as per the BOM, this was actually automatically capturing the raw materials. So as per the BOM, these 4 materials were required. These 4 materials required quantity, and everything automatically came from here. I can actually create the work order, and my work order will be also of the 800 quantity. This is all standard process now. So in work order, you basically do the manufacturing. You transfer all the materials which are basically there with you, and final consumption happens, and eventually whatever is the output, you capture the output also. But here also we added 2 more things, because whenever you are manufacturing, you need to know what is the what was the yield which you got. So yield is another variable now, very commonly used in chemicals, even agro commodities for some extent, and even wherever people are dealing minerals. What they want to say is, let's say this was my main raw material. In against this main raw material, which was the major cost for this particular item, how much output I got. And this is checked very closely by the management to improve the quality, improve the production quality, and the reduce the production costing. So higher the yield, better the production process. This is what they say. So we capture that as well. And we also capture the packing size and number of packages into batch itself. So everything is batch-wise inventory management. So that is the default of ERPNext. But in batch, there is no place by default where you can capture the concentration, your packing size, and packing material, which we basically added to show it over here. Now, my original expected rate was 2007. Here, my total costing came out to be 1995. So whenever you are doing the production in ERPNext, your costing is based on whatever raw materials you are using. If the raw material pricing are lower when you are using it, the system will calculate this particular rate automatically for you. So for each raw material, system will check what is the price at which we bought it, or what is the price at which we have the inventory of, and I can basically use those raw materials and get particular output into the system. So this price is auto-calculated. So we did our manufacturing. We got total 800 kgs of finished product. Now it's time to basically do the dilution. This is because in lab we did the dilution and then we sent the sample and it got approved. Now same dilution we have to do on the larger quantity. So where do we do it? We could have used the BOM. If BOM would have been the option, we could have used the BOM. But in that, there is no single formula for this dilution. Sometimes in my manufacturing, I may get the concentration as 105. Sometimes I may get a 95 as well. So the dilution depends on what quality of material I received while manufacturing. It may or may not be 100%. So using BOM was not feasible because of the different formula each time I have to do. The another possible solution out of the box in ERPNext would have been repack entry. which technically you can, but much more complex for the production people to use it, because in that you have to put the input and output manually. And one more thing which doesn't get captured over there is if you want to capture few more information, let's say you added 80 plus 20, the total sum should have tallied to be 100. But sometimes actually some things evaporate while mixing, some things actually get split over, then you may not get 100, you may get 99 only. To capture this process loss is also not possible in the stock entry. So we thought of creating a separate document called ball mill data sheet, where basically, so the instrument they used to use for blending these two materials was the ball mill, and it is used widely in various industries. So here they are going to mix these two materials and going to note it down into their particular system. So the possible thought process is you basically put it into a sheet. So this is basically a blending sheet, where ball mill data sheet is what we call it. Here my target was to achieve 1000 quantity for the customer. What I'll do is I'll just select the sample for which I was producing it. So once I select the sample, it is also fetching the quantity which will be required of the original item. So if you remember, this GDN was black GDN was required 800 and 200 will be the salt, because I have to basically manufacture accordingly. I can select the batch over here, which is pretty much standard. And so total quantity, if you can see, the total quantity would have been 1004, because I have added, let's say 204, then total quantity is 1004. But actual quantity is what I have mentioned is 1001 only. So system has calculated the handling loss based on these two parameters. I can put this 1002 as well. So handling loss will be 2. So this handling loss is also getting captured. You are getting easy way of putting the things. And when you are basically packing, you also would like to have the idea. So I was supposed to send it to the customer 1000. This is a common practice again in the chemical industry, that whatever I have to send it to the customer, I'll pack it in very nicely into the required packing, which is suggested by the customer. Remaining things, I'll keep it loose, which I may use it in next particular batch or next mixing or next blending. So the other 2 kg, I left it loose in loose bag, and I basically updated over here, and I can basically then submit it. So I already did one entry of this, so it is not going to allow me doing one more. But this is the whole process where you basically reach to an end goal of mixing the whole chemicals and making the exact quality which was required by the customer. And ball mill data sheet is basically allowed you. So from sample, we basically created the all processes which are default of ERPNext. Somewhere we did some minor changes, and eventually we reached to a place where we received particular quality. Now that quality has to be shipped to the customer, and this is where the whole cycle ends. There are few minor changes which we also did, which are commonly used in many other industry. One of them is having multiple outputs into the bill of materials. So default ERPNext way is, if you basically enter number of raw materials, there is expected only one finished item, and other items are scrap items. Now in scrap item, you can put the fixed rate, which is the rate at which everything will be calculated. But in reality, I don't have this particular scenario in my company. When I actually am producing 2 chemicals, both are finished products. In both, I have to basically apply different quantity and cost ratio. If this is my problem, then there was no specific solution for this problem. Now, when you are basically seeing this problem, you also have to see it a bit more broadly, because the same problem exists in various other industries. Let's say you are in agro commodity. Anybody is using the Sortex machine for sorting the various sizes. Let's say whether it is cashews, chickpeas, or any other commodity. Whenever they are basically splitting it into various different sizes, each different size represents different quality of the material, and one input generated multiple outputs. Sometimes it can be multiple inputs and multiple outputs. And each output, now let's say we are talking about cashews, we all understand cashews, that's why I'm talking about that. But in chemical also same thing applies. So in cashews, if you know, the larger the size, the higher the price will be. But larger size cashews will be very limited whenever you are basically sorting them out. So there will be like the quantity ratio might be of 20% for the larger cashews, but the cost ratio which I have to apply. The cost ratio means, let's say there is a total cost of production, which is let's say 1 lakh rupees. The cost of larger cashews has to be higher. So it cannot be 20% applied to that cost. Maybe 30 or 40% of the cost will go to the larger cashews because they are generally generating only 20%. So accordingly, you can define your particular industry specific cost and quantity ratio when you are producing the multiple item. So we developed this particular feature of applying this multiple cost and quantity. So in BOM only, what we did was we basically allowed this particular checkbox, which is basically multiple items. In that case, what happens is you can always define one item which is getting generated, but with that one item, you also get another table of putting other item as well. Now, other item can be 1, 2, or many. Here you can actually define which other items are basically getting generated. For each item, you can define the quantity ratio. So quantity ratio means what? I'm expecting whenever I'm basically mixing these particular raw materials, 70% expected quantity is of black WNN and 30% quantity is expected of black CNN. But when I'm doing this, I also want to apply the cost ratio. So I know that black WNN sells for much cheaper compared to black CNN. Black CNN sells for a bit higher price. So I want to apply 40% of the total cost of raw material to black CNN and only 60% cost to WNN. If I do this, my costing for both the items will vary significantly. But it is always dependent on the raw materials. So at the time of production, let's say same item production, whenever it happens, you got same split. But then if you see the valuation, because I applied the maximum valuation to the first item, it basically went to this particular item and CNN become much more costlier than the black W. This is the output. So we added this calculation whereby you can define the cost and quantity ratio into the work order, which is a standard work order. As long as you don't click on multiple finish, the default functionality works. But the moment you click on multiple finish, each thing will be molded as per multiple item finish. So whenever you are doing the finish also, you are basically asked about what is the quantity of each item that you got when you are basically finishing the work order. And system will do the valuation automatically. System will do the valuation based on whatever you have defined in the BOM side. One more scenario can happen over here is your both the items actually doesn't have different different costing. So what you want is, I don't want different costing for both the items. I want the same costing. So that particular problem is also solved through this only. We basically have given this checkbox. Whenever click on this checkbox, like equal cost ratio, what system will do is whatever the quantity you received for both the items, both will be actually carrying the same output price. So the raw material cost of both the items will be exactly equal. So if I show you the similar kind of example of that, what I mean by that is, let's say I received two different items, but both in this particular scenario, because I checked, if I would have checked the equal costing, it would have got the both items same costing. So quantity is different, but the costing is exactly same. So rate is exactly same. This is also possible. So all the possible scenarios have been handled for multiple output as well. And of course, with all this, we are also calculating the yield. So in BOM only, we have given one particular option of defining what you want to calculate the yield. So yield is based on which particular raw material is something which you have to define. That raw material is again compared to whatever you are basically producing, and based on the produced item, you are also going to get calculating the yield, expected yield of that particular BOM. Now the final thing, we did all these things, and we basically created the whole cycle, and we also handle the multiple various options of bill of material. How do I see all these things? So we are basically trying to manage the inventory eventually, isn't it? Is all this jugglery and everything is for managing the inventory. Now in inventory for chemical, what we did was we created these two specific reports, which is like stock balance is a deferred report. We created stock balance chemical, which focuses on key things. And we also created batch-wise stock balance, which is a deferred report. Then we actually added certain more things into it, like valuation rate and packing size and concentration and everything. And all these things are linked together. So what I mean by that is, so this is the stock balance chemical. If you see, this particular report has roughly same thing, but only key columns are shown. So quantity, price, and amount and everything is basically shown. Whenever you want to see the other data, you can always click on this and the full data will be visible. So we basically made it a bit more leaner in that way to view. Now, whenever you are viewing this particular report, the next question comes in is, let's say I have reactive red of 7,250 quantity. The next thing is, how many batches do I have? So in that case, I can just click on view batch-wise balance chemical. This is basically batch-wise balance report. Over there, what I get it in 198, grade 198, I have these many batches. So I have exactly 5 batches, different batches. And for each batch, what is the concentration is what I am getting. I'm also getting the packing size, packing material, everything. So if I have the different concentration or purity, it can be actually captured into the batch itself. So you get the 100% view of that. The next obvious step from here you would like to go is basically checking the ledger out, right? So you can check the ledger out from here, just click on it and system will show you all the transaction related to that particular thing. So this is one way of handling it. Another also possible is, let's say I was here. Now I was actually talking about Black JDN and I want to see the ledger of this Black JDN. I will just click on here also. And from there also I can see all the different transactions, where exactly it was received, from what price it was received and what price it went out and what was the total costing, and everything basically will be given over here. So this is a standard ledger. We just made it a bit more accessible and linked together with the custom report so that somebody who wants to see it can dig into the things very easily. So I think this covers it all, what we have done. And I feel ERPNext is a great solution, can actually work for any industry. Chemical is a specific industry for which also it can actually deliver a lot of value. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take.
Mukesh, I think there are a couple of questions in the chat box which have come. So Salim has asked a question. Do you have a price change report in this customized app?
So price changes report. Price changes, you mean to say like different prices quoted at different time, you mean to say? If that is what you are looking for, then it is a standard feature. ERPNext price list also has the date on which the price was quoted. If you want to just see it as a chart, like how the price of particular chemical went out or went in, you can create a chart from that. So default functionality there, you can actually put the item price on different dates, and plotting it is an easy thing. Frappe also has this chart builder functionality where you can actually define what goes on x-axis and y-axis and can build a chart out of it.
There's a question by Sanjana. Is it connected to DHL booking? Do we have to book from DHL to ERP? I think
Courier management
is courier management, yeah.
Yeah, courier management. So courier management as of now is not taking any data. You generally, same activity was done earlier by the various companies where they used to check the status of the courier over there on their site and then used to update it manually into their register. The same thing we replicated over here. Instead of register, you just replicate it into the ERP. There is no direct connector. If somebody can sponsor it, can be made, but it is going to be very specific. Somebody is using DHL, somebody is using FedEx, somebody is using different. So even if you have to make it, like, it is going to be a different connector, cannot be a common solution for all.
Okay, these are the two questions which is there in the chat box. If anyone has any other questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, Sanjana has a follow-up question as well. What if there is a loss while actual production of a material? How does the stock in ERP matches in that case?
Very good question. Actually, whenever you are producing, there will be some excesses which you are going to make. So in blending also, if you can see, we shown you like it is going to be 2 kgs extra is what I produce when I was mixing it. So when basically these excesses are there, they will also stay as a stock in ERPNext. Your production does not decrease as per the quantity which you are going to deliver to the customer. So let's say you produce more, remaining quantity stays in ERP, which can be further used or can be destroyed or can be sold to somebody else. I hope I am able to answer your question.
Yeah, she acknowledged the same. Any other question? If anyone has, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, there's no question as of now. So I'm just sharing a link in the chat box with regard to feedback. So since we have covered ERPNext specifically for chemical industry, so we would really love to hear your feedback on this webinar because it will help us to improve in our future events, and it will also help us to also schedule the other events in the upcoming month as well. So your valuable feedback would be really helpful to us. Also, question by Imtiaz, if possible, please share feature PPT. We'll not be able to share the PPT, but we'll be able to share the entire webinar recording. So once you are logging out from this webinar, within 30 minutes, it will be accessible to you. So you can just log in to the meeting link and the recording will be visible to you. Also, there's a question by Salim, share the GitHub link to the app, please. Mukesh, if you can just share that link in the chat box, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, I think there's a question by Rohit. So Rohit, I'm sorry that we could not take this question. Like Mukesh, would you be able to take this question? I think there's only one question which is remaining.
Rohit, can you read it out? I'm sorry, I'm not able to look at.
Sure, not a problem. So if you store finished goods in bulk and offer both standard pack sizes as well as custom pack sizes based on client demand, how would you manage the price list and volume based?
So if I understand correctly, what you mean to ask is there are different packing sizes which are available to me, and I'm basically selling the standard things based on the standard packing size which I have. In that case, the best solution would be to actually create different items. So you can create a template, and for different sizes, you create the different variant of it. And all those variants can actually deliver the solution for different sizes. Now, repack entry is where the blending data sheet will come in. So let's say you are basically having something which is a bulk which has been manufactured. Now you have to pack it into various different sizes. You can use the same ball mill data sheet, put the bulk as a raw material, and output can be of different items which you are getting out. So it can be of, let's say, from the same bulk, you are doing different packings. One is of 25 kg and another is 50 kg. You can actually incorporate the same into multiple rows into ball mill data sheet. I'll also show you what I mean by that. So in ball mill data sheet, what we did was we basically added these two things. Now here, your raw material can be a single bulk item, and the finished goods can be of multiple. So you can actually add multiple rows here of different packing sizes, and automatically the system will capture it and add the quantity into that. One more thing which I didn't mention, which we have handled, is repacking into more than one item. So let's say you are using one item and generating two different sizes of item in repack also, system will calculate the rate and it is going to be equal rate put into all different items. So based on the quantity, it is going to be equivalent rate. So that particular functionality is also there. Quality control, RCS. So quality side, what happens is basically these are like standard features. That's why I didn't put too much weight on it. But quality is already a very detailed module in ERPNext. It has all these functionalities where you can actually define the quality goals. You can define the quality feedbacks. You can also define the quality inspection criteria, and then you do the quality inspections. What I covered was just part of it, like some changes into the quality inspection, but quality itself is a very large module. Unfortunately, within the time constraint, I couldn't convert the whole, convey the whole thing about the quality. But if I go into the quality, there are like quality goals, quality procedures, then quality actions and quality feedbacks and everything. What we covered was only a small part of it, which was quality inspection template and quality inspection, which has to be done. So these are the only two things I did, but system is much more detailed than that.
So, Sanjana, I'll take your feedback. We'll have another webinar where we cover the quality module. We have got this request from a couple of attendees earlier also. So we'll try to cover it in the upcoming month. I think we can close the webinar for the time being if there are no questions. So thank you, Mukesh, for helping us go through ERPNext specifically for the chemical industry and specifically covering a lot more features in across industries as well. I think that was really, really helpful. So thank you everyone to attend the webinar, and we hope to see you in the upcoming webinars as well. So thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.